Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well, and you find me once again out and about on a beautiful summer's day on another bike review. And today I'm very pleased to say that you find me in deepest, darkest Berkshire, because I've just been down to Hampshire to pick up this from BMW UK. This is the brand new for 2020 BMW S1000XR. So if you're interested in this machine, stick around, stay tuned, I'll tell you what I think of it. Opportunity knock to overtake, yes. So the first thing that strikes you as soon as you jump on this bike is its eagerness. This bike just wants to go. Of course, it's got the 1000cc or thereabouts engine from the S1000RR, or a derivative thereof I should say, and it is very eager indeed. This is a bike I view as sort of like comfort of the GS, but for the rider that wants a little bit more excitement. So this is there, I think, more a competitor to things like Multistrada and maybe the big KTM adventures, more so than the GS. If you like your sports bike, then this might be the bike that you're tended towards. Now, I've only been on the bike so far for about 20 minutes or so, having picked it up from, as I say, BMW UK. They're down in Farnborough. I'm now in the environs. I think this is Winkfield or Ascot, somewhere like that. Don't know this area very well, so I'm following the sat-nav. Absolutely beautiful part of the country though, I do know that. And anyway, one of the things I noticed on the motorway on the M3 as I came up just now is that the bike is very buzzy at cruising speeds. At 70 miles an hour in sixth gear, it cruises at about 4,500 RPM. Exactly, you know, the speed you're going to be doing on motorways, and it's got a real buzziness through the seat. So that's one thing to be aware of that I don't like about the bike, but that's the first thing that I've noticed that I don't like. Everything else about the bike is beautiful. I mean, it goes like stink. It looks nice. One of the changes that they've made on these newer XRs is they've made the front symmetrical. It now looks so much a nicer bike. One of my complaints about the old bike, the pre-2020, was it had that squinty BMW front end. It just didn't work for me. Well, that I'm pleased to say is fixed now. The quick shifter on here is silky smooth. As you'd expect, this is a brand new bike. It's barely run in. It's done its 600-mile service. In fact, I think I just picked it up from the workshop at BMW. I think it was possibly just having its run-in service when I picked it up. But yeah, gearbox lovely and smooth, as you'd expect. And the wind protection pretty good off of here as well. Massive screen on here. Doesn't seem to be moving around too much. It might look like it is on the camera, but compared to the one on my GS, say, it's not flapping about, which is quite nice. It's nice and wide, so I've got some protection against my shoulders as well. In terms of the seating position, very familiar. It feels just like the GS in terms of wide handlebars, triangle between where your backside and your feet go on the pedals. Very, very similar. It might be that your legs are tucked up a little bit more than I'm used to. So in that respect, a bit more of a sporty ride, but you're not led forward or anything like that. You could certainly ride this all day long. Handling is super sharp through these corners as well. It is a lovely thing to ride. But something you very quickly notice on the comfort front when you jump on it is that the seat itself is very, very hard. So it's quite nicely sculptured. It sort of cups your buttocks nicely. That's always a good thing, isn't it? Having cupped buttocks. But yeah, it's like sitting on a slab of concrete or something. It is not what you'd describe as a comfortable seat. And then the other thing you immediately notice when you ride this bike is just how light and agile it feels. It's just flickable in and out of the corners. It does not feel like a big heavy bike. You know, when you jump on a GS, it feels like a big heavy bike. You jump on this, it just feels like a lightweight bike. Now a little bit later I'll do the walk around and talk you through the spec in the usual way. I'll give you all the numbers on the bike. Off the top of my head I can't remember what the weight is, but as I say, it feels very, very light when you're on it. Just test the brakes. The front brake is amazing on this. There's nothing behind me, it's just test the back brake. Yeah, this back brake's pretty good as well. Nothing wrong with those. Beautiful and smooth the engine, of course, it being a 4-cylinder unit. Better not get too carried away because I'm in a 30 here. And this bike that I've got here is the TE version, so it's the one that probably most people will buy in the UK. Right now we've got Nationals. So it's got all the bells and whistles that you'll want. So This has got the electronic suspension. This one's got the extra riding modes. Stuff like the SOS button on the handlebars, which I won't touch. All the bits you're likely to want. The handling is lovely. Just feels like you could really lay this down if you wanted to. Electronic suspension on here feels lovely, as you'd expect. Just in that Goldilocks zone, not too hard, not too soft. It's not vibrating the fill-ins as I go over the bumps on these roads, which aren't very good in terms of surface, but it's stiff enough that you know, the handling is nice in the corners. Don't know these roads very well at all, so I'm not sure there's any or many opportunities to overtake. But in terms of noise from the engine, it's actually a lot quieter than I expected it to be. It does sound quite angry. Even at idle in first gear, it idles at something like 2,000 RPM, and it sounds, you know, it's a 4-cylinder engine, so it revs high, and you know, it never sounds like it's relaxed. It always sounds like it wants, you know, it's urging you on. And again, if you're coming from a sports bike background, that might be your thing. Impressed with the wind protection off this, I must say. It's got quite a big frontal area, I guess. Getting no wind on my legs and lower half at all. And this screen's doing a really good job. And even on the motorway earlier as well. No buffeting, anything like that. You wouldn't need to replace this, which is something you so often have to do with new bikes, which is ridiculous. But they've obviously done some proper testing with this. It works. Once again, you've got the amazing BMW TFT on here. I'm not a big fan of TFTs per se, but if you're going to have one, have the BMW one. It is just brilliant. And of course, I love the way that they integrate the sat-nav controls on the whiz wheel here on the bike, exactly the same as they do on the GS and other machines. It means you can control everything just from the handlebar grips. You don't have to faff about pressing stuff on the screen or stop and change stuff. It can all be done on the move. I still don't quite get why BMW are doing separate GPSs when they've got such a lovely TFT. It must be easy to integrate a GPS into that, but very few bikes that I know of do that yet. In fact, I think the only one I've ridden that does that is the Honda Goldwing. That said, I do like the BMW GPS. This is the Nav 6 on here. Very clear presentation. I'm very used to how this works. I have a Nav 5 myself, which actually I kind of prefer because that's got a matte screen on it. For some reason, the Nav 6 has a glossy screen, and then the TFT itself is matte. So on a sunny day, I haven't got the sun behind me at the moment, so it's perfectly clear, but if the sun was glaring on that, you'd have trouble seeing that, whereas the TFT you can see absolutely fine. Just effortless power on this though. 165 brake horsepower, I think. As I say, I'll go through the numbers in a minute, but yeah, this ain't a bike you're ever going to ride and think, oh, what this needs is more power. Okay, we're just coming up to one of my favourite little walk-around spots here in the splendid little town of Holyport, just outside Maidenhead. So I'll pull over up here somewhere, find a suitable spot. I'll show you around the bike, show you what she looks like, and I'll talk you through the spec in the usual way. Stick her down by the pub. That'll do nicely. All the switchgear on here, the familiar BMW stuff. I call this the PCB stuff. It literally hits like contacts on circuit boards within the housing itself, but it works absolutely fine. It just doesn't have a great tactile feedback, but we're used to that now. They've been using that for some time, and many other bike manufacturers do a similar thing. Right, finding neutral's easy. Shortish stand here. It leans over a hell of a way when you lean it over, and this has keyless ignition, so turn off by pressing in that way. And here we go, here she is. This one fitted with the luggage as well, which I'm hoping I'm going to get to try out. But I think it's a beautiful looking machine now. They've really done a good job on this, and I love the fact that it is symmetrical on the front end. There is absolutely nothing to not like about the looks of it, at least in my eyes anyway. I think that's a top job. But anyway, let me get the phone out in the usual way, and I'll talk you through the spec of this beast. Okay, here we are then, the BMW S1000XR. The 2020 model. Lots of changes this model has had, not only you know, the changes in looks, but also the weight of the bike, the engine, etc. So loads of weight savings. The swing arm has had some weight taken out of it. The engine's had some weight taken out of it. It's got, let's have a look at the swing arm actually. Let's show you. There you go, it's tucked under there, of course. It's got better mid-range power. It's got changed gear ratios, lighter suspension, basically better performance all round, sharper styling than the outgoing model. A whole raft of changes, as I say, for the 2020 machine. I'm mostly interested in knowing you know, how she works, you know, living with the bike, and I'm pleased to say that this is a machine I've got for the next couple of weeks, so I'm going to be making a few videos on this. So if you want to know what it's like to actually live with, maybe I'll do a bit of riding with a pillion as well, see how that goes, and I can feed that all back to you, so stay tuned to the channel for that. Anyway, as far as the spec goes, let's tell you a bit about that. The engine, 999cc 4-cylinder unit, developed, as I say, from the S1000XR unit, puts out 165 brake horsepower at 11,000 RPM, 114 newton meters of torque at 9250 RPM, and again, you never feel this is a bike that needs more power. It's very much all about the power on this bike. It's a sporty machine, sportier than it looks, I have to say. In terms of brakes, they work absolutely brilliant, as I said. I'll show you the ones we've got on here. They're badged BMW, the calipers. They're 4-pot calipers on 320mm twin discs. At the rear, there's a 265mm disc with a 2-pot, but I don't think I can get at that very easily, can I? Tuck down here, there we go. There's the 2-pot caliper on the back, again badged BMW these days. Suspension, as I said on this, it's got the fancy dynamic ESA because this is the TE, but the forks themselves, 45mm upside down forks on this one, and on the rear it's got what BMW describe as spring strut with ESA. You can just see the spring hidden in there, electronically adjustable again on this. Seat height on this bike, 840mm as standard, can be lowered to 790mm if you go for the low suspension option. I'm a shorty, I find it absolutely fine. I can get my feet pretty much on the deck. Here you can see that sort of sculptured look to it that I was talking about. It's very, very thin. As you can see, not a lot of padding there, and very sculpted, so it's kind of comfortable from a shape point of view, but very hard. What I do find is when you put your legs down, although I can get my feet flat on the deck, these foot pegs are right where you want to put your legs down, so you have to sort of put your legs quite wide out because they go straight down, if that makes sense. There's my feet on the deck, look. Tippy toes, just have to splay them out because of the foot pegs, but otherwise the height is no issue for somebody of 5'8". And I have a 32-inch leg, before you ask. What else to tell you about it? Weight of the bike, I'll mention that, 226 kilograms, fully fueled. So that's pretty good going as a big old adventure style bike goes. Relatively light for this sort of bike. Tank capacity on this, 20 litres it'll hold, which is a good realistic amount. That's the same as my GS. I expect you get about 200 miles out of a tank on that. Electronics wise, well, you name it, this has got it. It's absolutely laden with them. It's got full LED nights, dynamic ESA, as I said, riding modes pro, all sorts of optional stuff. Headlight pro on this, adaptive headlights, all sorts of options available as well. Not entirely sure yet what this has been fitted with. Heated grips, cruise control, I think come as standard. Hand guards, centre stand as well, which all bikes should have. Keyless ride is standard as well on this bike. That's something that I'm not a big fan of, but there we go. So yeah, basically everything you want. In terms of price, according to the BMW website, £14,285 for the basic bike. I'm guessing you can probably add another 1,500, £2,000 if you want the TE. Didn't actually have the price of that I could find anyway. Comes with a 3-year warranty here in the UK as well now, which is a great thing. Yeah, there we go. It comes in red, white or grey. Are the only other things you need to know, I guess. Alrighty, that's enough looking around the bike and chatting. Let's jump on again and ride her some more. Well, actually, just before I do jump back on again, let's just see what she's like to lug about. As I say, you can see how the angle that it goes over on that short stand, a hell of a way. Make sure nothing's coming. Right. Oh yeah, a bit of a shove to get her off the stand, it has to be said. And then turning circle wise, it's gone full lock. Yeah, turning circle seems like it's pretty good actually. Look at that, 180 degrees in a fairly narrow road here. No problem. So turning circle good, but very heavy to physically lift off the stand. And with these boxes, very wide as well. But we'll see how they work out in long term. I'm hoping I'll get Mrs. Flyer on the back, because it's got this top box with the back on. She might be willing to have a go, and I'll get her to give you a report of what it's like as a pillion. Alright, let's get this show back on the road then. Fire her up. I have to say, this whole keyless ride thing doesn't do it for me, although I love these animations. Right, there you go. So she's started up, and just hear how revvy it sounds already. Look, it's idling at 2,000 RPM. It's just settling down a little bit now. It's gone down to probably 1,500 now. Look, as it's warmed up, realise it's warm. Sounds a little bit less angry. Let's do view map on there. Lovely clutch on here. Nice and light action. Busy out here today. White vans everywhere. quick shifter is just sublime. I love it. Right, so I must say a huge thank you to BMW UK, as I say, have lent me this bike for the next 2 weeks or so. So I'm going to ride the pants off it. If you're interested in this bike, stay tuned to the channel, because I'll be doing my usual videos, my lessons learned video, not just the good things but the bad things too. I should be bringing you the things that I really love about the bike, and I'm hoping I can take it on a bit of a, you know, ride with the pillion, because these sort of bikes are bought a lot, I think, by people that want to go touring, and maybe want to go touring with their missus or other half, whatever, on the back. Lots of people often say to me, well, what's it like for the pillion? So Mrs. Fly can be a little bashful, but we'll stick her on the back, see what she makes of the bike as well. Because from a riding point of view, for the actual rider, it feels very similar, as I say, to things like the GS, because of that familiar riding position. Although, as I say, the jury is very much out on this plank-like seat on here. So that's it for my initial impressions review. As a quick summary, I would say great wind protection, amazing engine, very fast bike, a lovely TFT, loads of electronics, a little bit buzzy for my liking, looks lovely, feels like a quality bike. That's what I'm thinking at the moment, but we'll see over time as I live with it. Alright, that's it for now. Hope that was of some interest. I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mr. Fly. Cheerio. The A308M, England's shortest motorway. It's only about half a mile long. Just takes you from the arse end of Maidenhead to the M4 roundabout. Fun fact for you.